Good morning. It is just before sunrise, and it's beautiful this morning. It is still very muggy. It has been extremely muggy lately. I don't know what the deal is with the barometric pressure and all the humidity and pollen and shit we've had, but I have not been sleeping well or breathing well. So, but regardless, I had a pretty good weekend. I hope all of you who are fathers had a good Father's Day. And I also had a good time meeting someone who is a follower of my channel, primarily for my morning walk videos, actually, that is not very active in politics or anything, but just likes white people being conscious of ourselves and likes nature. And he came to visit me yesterday. Him and his wife are looking to buy property in East Tennessee. And he knew my channel because of studying East Tennessee to move here. He's not too far away. He lives on the eastern seaboard here, a little bit north. And so he came and visited me, and for a few hours yesterday, I drove around and talked to him about, the things I like about this area, showed him the sights, and we had a really good time. It was a very wholesome, good experience to talk to a guy who's, he's older. He's older than I am, and he's already retired from the business that he did, and him and his wife are looking for a nice place to spend the rest of their lives among decent-minded, good community of white people. And so, I showed him around this area, talked up a few different communities, a few different kinds of churches to him, and it was a good time yesterday. We had a good time. I bring this up because there are two things I want to talk about today. This is the first one. This is a more positive one. We'll end with a more negative one. It feels good for me to network and know that I'm connected to folk who care about folk. Now, this can manifest in a lot of different ways, but I think that all of us need some of that in this cursed modern age we live in. I really think that fulfillment of a racial identity, ethnic identity for us, it has to come from us building it. No one's going to give it to us. And so, I don't know. Every time that I network with good-minded white people that want to build a better life and be connected to their own people through business and church and community and all that, I feel like I have done a good thing for all of us. It feels that way to me, because I see so many people around me and on social media, on the internet, that just don't do anything. They're just selfish. And I know that people are inherently that way, but we need to fight to not be that way. Because if you have everything handed to you in the modern era via delivery and internet and all this, people don't really have to strive to achieve or build or maintain anything. It's all just here. But this won't last. The only thing that will last is the things that we build and invest in. And I think that's why it's so important for all that we're all doing. I talk about them all the time. The Old Glory Club, they're building that. They're building an organization and network of white heritage Americans who want to make sure there is something for us in the future here on this continent. There needs to be that. They're doing what we need to do. That's why I like the white well-being community. They also care about building nodes of connection and organization for it's not just political activism. That's a tiny part of it. It's helping recapture the spiritual energy of our civilization. That comes from fighting back against the propaganda, which the White Well-Being team is excellent at. It comes from building better families and communities, which all of the organizations that we all network with and talk to are doing that. And so it felt really good to spend time with yet another person who knows my content and who I've personally inspired to make better choices about his life. And he came to visit me, and we just had a really wonderful few hours yesterday afternoon. So that's a positive thing I wanted to talk about. Before we move to the negative stuff, I realized there is a beautiful example of Queen Anne's lace right here. I think I've mentioned this before on my morning walk series. This is Queen Anne's lace. It is a big weed-like beautiful flower that grows. Now, one of the reasons that in this area you are taught to avoid this is it has a teeny tiny biting mite-like tick thing that likes to live on it, called, locally we call it a chigger. I don't really know what it's properly called. I'm sure that's not the official name in Latin or science or whatever. But I don't see a chigger on this one today. They're a teeny tiny black speck. And sort of like a mosquito, they can bite you and it's irritating. But another reason, just regular ticks that burrow their heads into you. You have to watch out for those. We have a lot of those here too. So every time during the spring and summer when you go out hunting or fishing or traipsing through the field or whatever, you always have to check you and your clothes for ticks when you're done. You don't want those getting in you, especially up in your hair. All right. So now it is time to talk about something else. And I do love this beautiful overcast cloudy sunrise. See, now this is the kind of daylight I enjoy. I wish it was never brighter than this. Like, do you guys see why I say I wish that the weather was like Scotland all the time? Because look at this. Look how beautifully dark and overcast it is in every direction. It's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. I wish it never got brighter than this. This is perfect for me. All right. So, the last few weeks has been kind of hard on me. My mother's husband, which I've mentioned many times in the last several years I've been making content, has myriad health problems. One health problem leads to another, He was born with some kind of autoimmune disease that many of you may have known. It's called Crohn's disease. And that led, because the medication for that and that thing itself led him to a lifetime of having different kinds of organ problems and blood pressure problems, dietary problems. And so he is towards the end of his rope now, and he needs a total liver transplant, which I don't need to tell you is one of the most complicated organ surgeries that you can do. A full liver transplant is not a simple procedure. And he's already not healthy. And he's already had cancer 3 times and beaten it. And he's already had multiple surgeries that had to gut him like a fish and move stuff around in him and take things out. So, it's possible that my mother's husband is not going to make it. Also, as you might imagine, someone who has those things, not very high up the list on priority for a full liver transplant. So they have said their prayers. They are on a waiting list. And who knows if he'll get one or not. So the good news is, despite all of those health problems, he has been a very healthy individual. Loves to walk, loves to do golf, used to love to play tennis and ride bike a lot. He's always been a very fit, healthy guy with a good diet. So he's well into his 50s now. Because my mother married much younger, by the way. I think he's 57 or 58 now, and my mother's in her 70s. So when she remarried for the 3rd or 4th time, she's gone through a lot of husbands. He was, I think, in his late 30s, mid-30s when they got together. But anyway, he has been in very good shape and been athletic and taking care of himself his whole life. But I just don't know if he's going to make it this time. I don't want to speak ill of him, but I think looking at him, how he's changed, what he looks like now versus what he looked like a year ago, I don't know if he's going to make it. And I also don't know if it's even possible for him to get a liver transplant, being his age with all of his other existing conditions. I don't know. So, for this last 7 or 8 days, my mother and him flew to a specialty transplant clinic thing and they did all the paperwork and all of that. So his all of his stuff is in front of the board that makes a decision on who gets livers at what priority. And now they're just going to wait. They have their bags packed. They have a big case of stuff by the car. So if they get that call in the next, God knows how long, few weeks. I don't know how long he has to live if he doesn't get a liver transplant, but it's not long. So if they get a call, in the car they hop, and they're going to go, and it will take, I don't know the particulars, but I assume a complicated, massive organ replacement surgery like that will require at least like several weeks, if not a month or two, of hospital monitoring. So he and my mother might have a very long, arduous journey ahead of them towards the end of their lives, and it makes me feel bad for them, and it makes me think of my own mortality. And so I wanted to share that with you guys today. My mother and her husband, I like them both a lot. They've been good to me. But they're in the same ugly, stupid boomer mindset that so many people older than me are in. We're going to stop and just admire this. It's beautiful. There's a light, misty rain that just started to fall, and it feels oh so good. In the distance there, I don't know how well you can see it. That's why they call this the Smoky Mountains. Let me see if I can zoom in on that. Can I zoom in this mode? I don't think so. No, I cannot. But that over there is exactly why they call this the Smoky Mountains. Exactly. I don't know how well this picks that up over there, but it's right there. All right. Well, the rain is intensifying. I probably should turn around and start heading home. But we'll go ahead and talk about what I wanted to talk about, which is mortality and valuing life and death. I do not think that most people in the modern era are healthily taught about life and death and your place in the life and death cycle. I've mentioned this a few times before on my morning walk series about how growing up on a farm, knowing about animals that have to be raised from birth to be slaughtered for food, knowing that, well, my grandfather and great-grandfather helped make these tributaries, helped make these irrigation ditches, helped build all of this stuff that made this farming possible through all these mountain hollers. And to know that they built all of that with the intent of it being there for people that didn't even exist yet, who would be their progeny in the future. And so they lived and they died, not in vain. Now, that's just scratching the surface of life and death. I think that for hundreds of years, not just in the modern era, but I think for hundreds of years now, there has been an unhealthy disconnection in the Anglosphere, and maybe in the Francosphere and other North European spheres, but definitely in the Anglosphere for the last several hundred years, there has been an unhealthy departure from nature. I don't like it. I think that our fiction, our religious expressions, our politics even, everything that we are is part of a life and death cycle. And I think that what we are needs to, or what we do should speak to that. Because when I look at boomers, like my mother and her husband, well, he's not technically a boomer, he's almost there, he's old Gen X. The way that they talk about life and death and stuff, even though they're both super duper Southern Protestant Christian, which I grow sick of hearing about, they seem to be completely terrified of death. They have spent so much money having jewelry and vacations and golf clubs and passing fancies of wanting to play guitar or whatever the hell else that they've spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on the last 40 years. And it makes me wonder, why are we so culturally afraid of facing death? Why? We didn't used to be. It used to be a really normal, positive thing. Like, I am going to die surrounded by my loved ones, or I am going to die on the battlefield, or I will die knowing that I have A, B, C, D, and E, or, you know, I will die knowing that I sired 5 sons and I have, you know, 20 grandkids. And because of what I've done, this farmland or this business or this whatever it is I've built with my life, I know that they will have that when I pass. My death will be a good death. Like, that kind of talk barely exists at all in the modern era. And I wonder, like, it really makes me wonder, thinking about death, just how much we should care about and bring back talk of death and life as a thing that we need to get people into as a core part of what it means to think and feel in a mature way. Because thankfully, I faced death at an early age. Lots of people that I knew in my family or my personal community when I went to that little Christian school growing up, several people died. I had to go to funerals. I had to learn about that stuff. So I had a very healthy connection with life and death, especially growing up between 2 farms and, you know, being part of rural, rustic people. I understood life and death even at a young age, where most, I think, adults don't anymore. And so I was thinking to myself the last couple days, how can we, in the modern era, where everything is built around making people have the attention span of a gnat, how can we have a healthy connection to lifelong things? And how can we talk positively about the cycle of life and death? Because we don't have the fundaments for it anymore. There's a vehicle coming. Give me a moment. I'm going to walk over here. All right, it's gone. So, the fundaments of having positive association with the life-death cycle, I think, might be gone. We live in a consumerist throwaway civilization that even the leadership of our rotten empire that we live in views us as people, as things to use and discard and replace like a light bulb that burns out. We have instant gratification, smartphones, door delivery, food services. You can get pretty much everything delivered straight to your door now, thanks to Amazon and drones and all this other bullshit. Now, again, I'm not saying that technology is bad. I'm not. I'm just saying that I think that the way that we live is not conducive to caring about long-term things and having a deep long-term connection to things that matter. And I don't know how to fix that, really. Now, science fiction authors have been writing about the loss of humanity for a long time. That's the stuff I read growing up. You know, cyberpunk stuff and Olaf Stapleton and Roger Zelazny and all that. And I never read a lot of Herbert's Dune. I tried to get through it, but I couldn't make it. But, you know, some of that was in there too that I remember. But the point is, I think about life and death in a way that most people don't. And I think that's to their detriment. Because we don't have a culture that cares about you outside of the 15-minute news cycle. We don't live in a culture that is led by men who have this stoic, moral attitude of the past. We don't have that anymore. Like, none. I look at politicians every week for work. Dozens of them. Ones that are high profile, ones that aren't so high profile. Reading the news, finding out what the Democrats and Republicans are up to, finding out what the Tories and the fucking Labor and Reform and all them idiots are up to. And none of them seem to have any good strength of character. None of them seem to be stoic, moral, stand-up individuals that care. It's just rotten. Absolutely rotten. And I think to myself, in sort of a step back, abstract way, you know, politicians are supposed to be representatives of the people. And we all know what a lie and horseshit democracy and all this stuff is. We talk about it all the time. But just think about that concept for a minute. Representatives of the people. Well, what if they really do represent the people now? Selfish, atheist, don't really care about anything other than short-term gratification, comfort, money, line go up. Yay, my team is winning. Yay. Or, my team is losing. It's just such a childish, materialist, disconnected mindset that all of these politicians and all these people seem to have. And I think to myself, you know, that really does kind of represent the people of today, doesn't it? Doesn't it? And it just makes me think maybe we're getting what we deserve. It's messed up, man. So that was my musings for today. We don't really have a healthy identity anymore. Not as a race, not as an ethnicity, not even as Americans. And I think that it is to our detriment that we live in a 15-minute news cycle throwaway culture, because it does not really engender the healthy kinds of thoughts that I think are so necessary for our civilization to be healthy. And that's just on my mind because of death and life, and thinking about how poorly people in my own family are facing death. They're not handling it well. They should. They're older than I am, most of them. They should handle it better. They should know. They should have made their peace with all this stuff a long time ago. But so many people between like 60 and 80, they're like children that never grew up. And I think that's the main problem with the boomer generation. Heavily steeped in that consumerist, communism designed for the Americans back in the 40s and 50s. Like, all of that stuff, I think, warped the boomer. And also growing up in the most affluent time in human history, where just everything was on the rise. Everything was a possibility. Everything. And they were taught to be loyal consumers. And I think that stunted their ability to grow and mature. And you can tell when you deal with boomers, they're like adult children. And I think that's why the millennials are so much like them. But anyway, this video has been very long. We're going to wrap it up here. I am thankful that it stayed overcast the whole day, or the whole video. This will be a long boy. I'm not going to edit much out of this. So I will see you guys Thursday night with Chris for more Gulag Cafe or Empire of Lies. Hopefully, knock on wood, he's feeling better and has settled back in from his vacation. And I love you guys. Do the best you can to live a good, fulfilling life and have a good death. And inspire those around you to do the same and to build identity around what we are and who we are. God bless everybody.